Imagine talking on the phone with someone you love. You are discussing ordinary things, making plans for the evening, and suddenly the connection is severed by a short, bone-chilling scream. You call back again and again, but the only answer is silence, until a strange text message arrives hours after that person should have vanished. Today, we are diving into one of the most unsettling mysteries of the modern era, a story that forces us to reconsider our trust in technology and safety. This is the case of Brandon Swanson, a young man who disappeared right in the middle of a phone call with his parents, leaving behind only the echo of his final cry and a digital trail that defies all logic. How can a person who is actively on the line vanish without a trace in a field that was searched by hundreds of volunteers? Why did his phone continue to operate in a place where no life could be? We will break down every detail of this nightmare, which began with a simple drive home and turned into a decade-long search for answers in the void. It all began on the spring night of May 14th, 2008, in the rural countryside of Minnesota. 19-year-old Brandon was celebrating the end of the academic year with friends. He wasn't a troubled teenager. He had no enemies and no history of substance abuse. He was an ordinary guy with big plans for the future. Around midnight, he got into his car to head home to the town of Marshall. The drive should have taken very little time, but the rural roads of Minnesota at night turn into a labyrinth of gravel and endless fields. At some point, Brandon lost control and his car slid into a ditch. He wasn't hurt, but the vehicle was stuck fast in the mud. Instead of panicking, Brandon did what any of us would do. He pulled out his cell phone and called his parents. For the next 47 minutes, Brandon's father, Brian, drove to meet him, keeping the connection active the entire time. Brandon described what he saw around him. He saw the lights of the town of Lind in the distance, and he could hear the sound of water in a small stream. He was perfectly calm. They agreed to meet at a local gas station, but when his parents arrived, their son wasn't there. They began flashing their headlights and honking the horn. Brandon did the same in response, but they couldn't see each other. It became clear that the young man was disoriented. He decided to leave the car and walk toward the lights he believed were Lind. Throughout this walk, he continued talking to his father. It was an ordinary conversation between two close people until, at 12:47 a.m., Brandon suddenly shouted a short curse word, expressing extreme terror. The connection was severed instantly. That was the last time his voice was heard in this world. His parents, in horror, called him back dozens of times. The phone was on, it was ringing, but Brandon didn't answer. The police, arriving the next morning, found Brandon's car 20 miles from where he thought he was. But the strangest part began later. When the police started tracking his mobile phone, they discovered something impossible. Hours after the disappearance and that final scream, a message arrived on the phone of one of his friends. It was short, consisting of a random set of symbols and numbers, resembling an encrypted code or the result of a frantic pressing of buttons in the dark. Researchers later tried to match these symbols with coordinates or time, but the message looked as if the phone was living a life of its own in the hands of someone or something else. The investigation faced a total void. Scent dogs picked up Brandon's trail at the car and led searchers through fields along the Yellow Medicine River, but the trail stopped abruptly at the water's edge. The logical assumption was that he had drowned. However, the river at that time was only knee-deep, and its bed was searched by divers and volunteers for many miles downstream. No body was ever found, but Brandon's digital ghost continued to exist. His phone continued to send signals to cell towers for another 2 days. The signals moved. They were not static. This meant that either Brandon was alive and continued to walk, ignoring the calls, or someone else had taken his phone and was moving through the area, avoiding search parties. Before we move on to the terrifying theories that try to explain this digital chaos, I want to ask you, what would you do if you received a message from a person officially considered missing? Do you believe that modern gadgets can malfunction in moments of extreme stress? Or is there something more behind these symbols? Write your version in the comments. Every opinion is important to us because collective analysis often helps shed light on details missed by the investigation. And if you value such deep dives into real crimes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Your support helps us continue the search for truth in cases that many have already hurried to forget. Let's move on to the theories. The first and most rational is the theory of an accident and hypothermia. According to this, Brandon fell into the water, which caused his scream. He managed to get out, but because of the icy water and the night cold, he developed hypothermia, which leads to paradoxical undressing and loss of reason. This could explain why he didn't answer the calls. He simply didn't understand what the sound was. But this theory falls apart because his body was never found. The fields in that area are perfectly flat and open. They were searched by hundreds of people for several months. Hiding a body there is almost impossible. Moreover, how could a person in the terminal stage of frostbite send a text message containing specific symbols? The second theory is criminal. Some investigators believe that Brandon accidentally witnessed something he wasn't supposed to see. In these rural areas, illegal production sites or warehouses are sometimes hidden. Perhaps his scream was a reaction to a sudden encounter with criminals. In that case, the message sent later could have been an attempt by the criminals to check the phone or mislead the investigation. But there is a gap in this version. Why leave the phone on for 2 days, allowing the police to track the signals? It looks like a deliberate provocation or absolute carelessness, which doesn't align with a professional cover-up of evidence. The third theory, the most eerie and discussed online, is the theory of digital abduction or interference by a third force. Proponents of this version point out that Brandon described objects that did not exist in the place where his car was found. He was convinced he saw city lights, even though he was in the wilderness. Could the cellular signal and navigation have been intentionally distorted? There are documented cases where electromagnetic anomalies in certain zones cause auditory and visual hallucinations, as well as electronic malfunctions. If Brandon entered such a zone, his phone could have sent messages and transmitted signals chaotically, reflecting the distorted reality in which he found himself. This would explain why the dogs lost the trail, not because it ended, but because he ceased to exist in our physical space. Years have passed, but the case of Brandon Swanson remains open. His parents still leave the porch light on every night, hoping their son will find his way home. Every time unidentified remains are found in Minnesota, they are checked against Brandon's DNA, but so far, with no result. This story teaches us that even in a world where every step we take is recorded by satellites and cell towers, one can disappear in a single moment. Brandon's last message remains a silent testimony that something happened in that field that night, something beyond a simple accident. The void did not just take him. It left us with a mystery that may never be solved. Take care of your loved ones and always stay in touch. But remember that sometimes the silence on the other end of the line can be much more eloquent than any words. We will continue to follow this and other cases so that their stories are not forgotten. Thank you for watching until the end. Your attention is a tribute to the memory of those who have gone missing. See you in the next video, where we will try to solve a new mystery hidden beyond the edge of the familiar. Stay safe.